You know, when we did the Vanity 6 stuff, we did that at Sunset Sound.
Me, it was business. When we were in the studio, it was about the studio. There wasn't a lot of partying or anything like that going on, like girls walking around in high heels. I mean, the studio is dangerous. It's got cords and different levels and, you know, it's got big snakes going through it and heavy doors. With Prince, if Jill came down, it was to do a part. If Lisa came down, it was to do a part. You know, we were doing the Vanity 6. I mean, I was aware that he was involved with Vanity. I was aware that he was involved with Jill, but it wasn't the main focus when we were in the studio. It was business. And when we were cutting the music, it was usually just Prince. They would come in for the vocal.
I laid vocal down. My whole vocal ended up being kind of the guide for whoever was going to do the song, but also it stayed in the song. That's how it kind of went down. And then he could therefore keep me working on other stuff too.
Prince said to me one day, after we'd been seeing each other for a while, he said, "You want to form a group?" He said, "If you really love me, you'll come with me." Oh, it's wonderful. Wouldn't you think?
I spent a lot of my time alone when I was younger, you know, and that's how I started writing. I'd write my feelings down on paper, and I started writing when I was 12, 13.
Vanity 6 was Prince's 1980s version of the Supremes, and things fell into place with finding the people that wound up doing it and being in it.
He is very selective in who he chooses to work with, too. And I think it has a lot to do with chemistry he has with the artist, too. And so when that happens, it sort of always feels like it was already meant to be, like destiny somewhere. So you kind of feel that you're where you're supposed to be.
He had gone through a breakup with Susan, and it was really kind of a weird transition. He had everybody, Vanity. It was just a lot going on.
Just living, you know, just life in general, just my own life, you know. I write a lot about it and the things I feel. And I'm free to do what I want to do, and it's really good. It's a good feeling, you know.
I think I was some kind of refuge in the middle of whatever all that other stuff was.
You worked with us, and we worked to break the barriers. We broke down some barriers.
When I met these girls, right before I met them, I wrote Drive Me Wild and Makeup, you know, and those are the two songs that are on the album.
But even then, it would be just he and I and Denise, or he and I and whatever. There's a song on that record I played drums on. It's not credited, nobody knows. It was 3 times 2 equals 6. Yeah. The kind of wobbly drums, that's me. But with that, we just kind of worked in that small kind of ensemble that way.
My first published song was on this, was the Vanity 6 album. My first published song was Fight the Beat, which is like, it's on the, I was my first published song.
What I say in Nasty Girls, which is definitely a hit.
Just after I'd met him, I wrote Nasty Girls, and then he took the song and he put music to it and added more junk to it, and so it became my first song.
First night he picked me up, Nasty Girl was done. I was like, this is like crazy. This is amazing.
We went to this house, a split-level house at the back of a cul-de-sac. I heard the music coming from downstairs, and I went, oh, is that the studio downstairs? Oh, this is cool. He's kind of right here in this house. Is this where he lives, too? This is cool. When I heard Nasty Girl, I went, oh my God, that song's going to be a hit.
Girl, I'm living in a fantasy. It's all part of a fantasy also. So, you know. I mean, I started out by acting and modeling way before singing. I was terrible. I remember the first time I went into the studio, I was horrific. I mean, really. They said, sorry, you'll never be a singer. Oh.
Do you get offended when people think you're just sex and
not a talent? Good question, good answer. Yes, I did. I grew up as a Protestant child. I always believed in God. Religion is a funny thing. I think it doesn't really matter if you go to church. It doesn't really matter. It's more along the lines of, do you pray and do you believe in God? And I believe in God.
Religious upbringing. Well, he was Seventh-day Adventist. I was Jehovah's Witness. We were pretty apocalyptic. Truth or reality that just sort of hovers over you as a child.
I believe God is in all of us, actually. I think it's more like a spirit, something that's like a high energy, something that is, it's like if you think good thoughts in the air around you, you create goodness around you. You know, if you surround yourself by goodness, that's really what God is. God is love.
Obviously, Brenda, because she was my wife at the time, we were all very close, and it was like a factory, and we were always doing something. If I wasn't working with Prince in the time we're going out and doing shows, I was out with the guys. There was always something going on, and, you know, Vanity 6 became another level of it. Vanity was a very interesting person.
There was a lot of fighting, and I would mess with him, then he would mess with me. If I like dancers, guys would have people come and pick them up off of the dance floor and carry them out of the club. You can see that in a lot of the songs that he wrote for Purple Rain.
Because we were part of Vanity 6, there was Prince in the time. So we traveled for 9 months together. It actually is very difficult to actually have a relationship and be a part of a group. It's sort of rough trying to maintain a relationship amongst the rock and roll. I was growing up for maybe 2.5 years, but it was like an on and off situation.
Of course there was difficulties. Of course there was frustrations. Of course there was times that was very hard to keep things together. Prince was so busy with so many different things. He needed to rely in each group of each situation. He needed to rely on somebody in that group to be able to help keep things going in a sort of supervisory way, if you want to put it that way.
Prince doesn't have really a woman. No? Not one. You can't single out any woman. One that owns his heart? No, I don't know. You tell me.
There was jealousy and not understanding, like, well, why can't you just be with one person? But when you think of it now, it's like everybody was so young. For him, I don't know how he did it as much as then if we were all sitting together on the bus, then we knew, like, well, who the hell is coming now? Well, if he's not with you or me, well, who else is there? So I think she was conflicted maybe because she really was a gentle spirit and a really good woman. But nobody had ever really given her the opportunity or chance to be, because they all became so overpowered by her beauty. Sometimes I think how Prince saw Vanity or Denise, the way he projected it were of two minds. One was the business mind, and one was his heart mind.
Him and I are so much alike. When I look at him, I love his face so much, I want it. He digs my face so much that he wants it. One of the most passionate men, romantic men. I mean, I've had a few, but he was really crazy. He was always doing the unexpected.
In the time, it was different because he would do the basic and then they would play on a lot of it. So they would come in and out. And that was fun. Sometimes it was awful. Someone had lost one of the tapes and he was furious. He came in and I could hear him walking fast and hard. And I was like, oh, God. No shirt on, bandana tied around each knee and one around his head. Two of his high top pants buttons undone. Jimmy Jam looked over it. So glad it's not one of us. And he never apologized.
Tower of Power.
Yeah.
And we can't mention Tower of Power without mentioning David Garibaldi.
Dave Garibaldi, that was my boy.
What was it that struck you about him amongst all the drummers?
Those arrangements, man, were so incredible that I loved it.
By the way, now speaking of David Garibaldi, 777-9311.
You know, Prince found that.
Okay.
You know, yeah. So he came over with tape.
Is it David? From what I understand, a David Garibaldi preset in the Lindrum, the Lindrum first, cassette recorder.
Yeah, but he came over with the cassette. He had already done the groove. You know, he told me that was Dave Garibaldi program on the Lind.
What's the most complicated song you've dissected?
777-9311. But Jellybean was playing.
I remember me, Prince, and Morris sat down and drum said, like, we was trying to figure how the hell is Bean gonna do this, you know? Like, it's on the drum machine. I mean, David Garibaldi's the one that designed that beat. If you listen to him play on the Tower of Power, He has some of the most difficult drum patterns, and he plays them like nothing, like a robot. You know, ain't nothing drum machine, and it's damn near physically impossible.
But the hi-hats.
Songs to Prince and Morris to listen to, and they would floor just crying. I mean, there was Prince would have tears coming out of his eyes, going, "Man, you gotta hear this." It was like the biggest joke.
And I knew Terry and Jimmy were moonlighting, and I was like, awesome, because I really wanted to do the same thing. So
when the tour ended, and Terry said, "I'm gonna go to L.A. after the tour. I'm just gonna make some demos, try to get some songs placed because they need us out there." So Terry said, "Well, who wants to go? Somebody want to come with me?" And I said, "Well, I'll go." I just trust it. We went to L.A., bought a Tascam 4-track, little microphone. I had this little Casio keyboard. He had his bass. We would rehearse Monday through Friday. We would get done Friday. Terry and I, we would rehearse Monday through Friday. We would get done Friday. Terry and I would hop like the last flight to L.A. And there were some people we knew from Minneapolis. They were renting a house out there, and they had one bedroom. We'd do our demos at home, right? So we'd do our demos at the crib. They'd go to work, and we'd all day be in like the bathroom and stuff to get reverb and stuff and be making our little demos and stuff. And, you know, we had booked a couple of acts reel to reel for Leon Silver's Climax. Or Terry would be asleep on the couch, I'd be working. Then I'd fall asleep and Terry would be working. Come on, man, we're trying to get this done. So, and then we would catch a plane back to be back in time for Monday rehearsal. We did a record called Can You Treat Me Like She Does? For Reel to Reel. The demo of that song, Terry's playing the bass very much like so it's just boom. And Leon always called it patent bass, like when you're patting something. When we did the demo of the record, and he'd say, "Yeah," he said, I like that record. He said, "We're gonna do that record on my group, Reel to Reel." So as we're doing the track, Prince is in our mind talking about "Don't Give Away the Time" sound. So Terry like is watering down the bass part now, right? So now Terry did the track, and we say, "Okay, here you go, Leon. What happened to the patent bass?" "No, I heard the shits on the demo, and he was patting the bass different than he's doing it. So either you guys can do the patent on the bass, or I'll go in and do it myself." No, I mean, we really were conscious of that, we didn't want to give away the time sound. All of these songs we were doing back then were all based on one demo tape that we did at the house. Everybody just heard different songs they liked. Prince got wind of what we were doing. The rehearsals would start going longer and longer. There'd be a Saturday rehearsal. And all of a sudden, are we rehearsing tonight? No, we're on our way to the airport. Oh, yeah, there's a rehearsal. There was a lot of roadblocks thrown in front of us.
It occurred to me, having watched MTV over the last few months, that it's a solid enterprise and it's got a lot going for it. I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it.
We want to play artists that seem to be doing music that fits into what we want to play for MTV. The company is thinking in terms of narrow casting.
That's evident, but there seem to be a lot of black artists making very good videos that I'm surprised aren't used on MTV.
Well, of course, also we have to try and do what we think not only New York and Los Angeles will appreciate, but also Poughkeepsie or Midwest. Pick some town in the Midwest that will be scared to death by Prince.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Does that make sense? Valid point?
I understand your point of view.
Michael Jackson is back in action with his new album, Thriller.
Available at all Sam Goody stores for $6.99 LP, $7.49 tape.